Okay, we are live. This is Herman Wheeler. We doing our first podcast today, Herman, and then we got
Peter Redekop.
And Jakey Bamman.
And Isaac Friesen.
And Abe Martins.
So we're going to talk a little bit today about our beginnings, where we started, and where we're at now, how this podcast came about. So all of us, me, Pete, Jakey, Isaac, and Abe, we were part of a group, we were in a WhatsApp chat called the Free From the Past group, where we had a death in somebody very close to me, had a death kind of in the family because Marcy's cousin. And we did some things that were very controversial. We wanted to raise it from the dead, which we wanted everybody to think that way. And that might have been part of why we got kicked out. But anyway, we got kicked out. I started a new colony group. And from the new colony group, we started a Tuesday meeting. You guys are welcome to interject. Add some to the story.
I'm just waiting for you to mess up. We will.
And the Tuesday group became, so the Tuesday group was basically us getting around, figuring out how, since what we were starting to learn and believe was not welcome in the groups we're in, to learn the part of the Bible that wasn't taught to me anyway. And that became what is now the leadership group, which is we're all trying to learn how to be better leaders in our life and our business, and for the people around us. The podcast is called the Gentleman's Hour podcast, which came from J.R.R. Tolkien. He had, when he was younger, he was an orphan, and got, I don't know about adopted, but I think he lived in a home of some rich lady, something like that. Okay. And he had, I don't know, 4 or 5 friends of his that were very wealthy in London, and they considered themselves a league of gentlemen. And it spoke to me when it's a very good movie. Whoever wants to watch it, it's a very good movie to watch. It's called J.R.R. Tolkien. And that's where the inspiration from that came from. And for the naysayers, because I guess the reason why we might have naysayers, most of the topics that a lot of the topics we're going to cover might be somewhat or fairly controversial, depending on who you are and what your beliefs are. But the reason why we cover them is because we want to learn. It's not to say that what we know is right or that we know is wrong. It's to learn what does it mean. I know one of them we had with people remember this. One of them was on a Tuesday where we talked about alcoholism. What's the right way to go about it? And
It was what's the right way to deal with somebody coming out of alcoholism.
That's
if they show up and you're drinking a beer, how do you go about it? What's the way to handle the situation as a Christian?
Yeah.
And that didn't go over very well.
It didn't. And it took us a couple of weeks, but we did come up with a good answer. But it was one of those subjects that did not go over well with the people we had around us. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these subjects might be controversial, and if you're one of them, well, then find another podcast, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. But there's what that reminded me of when I was thinking about talking about this is I've been listening to Churchill's biography, and there were so many people that said that Churchill, even when he was first elected as prime minister, said he couldn't make it. And he ended up being in politics until 1989. And he's one of the great leaders of our history. He was instrumental in winning the Second World War, getting the United States engaged. He declared war on Japan before the U.S. even did, even though the U.S. was the one that got attacked, and it was because he wanted the U.S. in there. But that's another story. But he's one of those people that everybody said he couldn't make it. You had a bunch of naysayers. Then when he did make it, you got some of the same people say, well, I knew all along he could make it. So there's that. I guess that covers the history.
Oh, really? You kind of skimmed over what it was, but the actual history of how it started, you go back to what happened
with
in general.
How we got kicked out?
No, maybe not necessarily start there. That might rub some people the wrong way.
Why
But
don't you jog the memory?
kind of where we started from the day that I guess the initial conflict started.
Gotcha.
The conversation kind of started where once the I guess the worst of it happened. I don't remember the exact date. It would have been last quarter of May or the last week or so of May, where we had the phone conversation and where New Colony kind of started. And you put the first four together. I called you, and where Abe came from, I know because you and Abe were that close. But do you remember how Jakey got put in? 'Cause
I do not.
I don't.
Jakey, do you remember?
Oh man, it was basically it was more of a deal where also coming from the Free from the Past group, whatever deal, and man, where do I begin? It had more to do, I guess, also with the passing of Johnny
Johnny.
Berg,
Yeah.
and that's where it all started. And then we had to get together at your house because we were talking about exactly that, what we were going to do and who was going to go to the funeral, whatever, and try to bring him back, right? And yeah, basically that's where it started. I mean, we had some people come over there and try to stop us from going there, and then it went from that. Me, Herman, and Abe actually did something
Yeah.
way
That
out of
was-
our comfort zone.
Wicked.
Went to go went to Rhinelander Church here in Seminole and actually talked about bringing a child back from the dead, and yeah, it basically started from there and just escalated.
I think one
and now
thing
we're here.
One thing we need to kind of clarify, the way we worded it is we tried to bring him back from the dead.
Well,
Not that we tried. It's
yeah,
and it's not that I'm saying
We
you
wanted
said
to
it wrong.
pray.
yeah.
We wanted God to bring him back from the dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We wanted,
We wanted
which
a
that,
miracle to happen.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, we want to clarify that. It was not that we wanted to bring him back from the dead. That's not by any means
No.
what we're saying here.
Absolutely not.
which the Rhinelander one, I think we approached it well. We did ask the parents. And the
Yes.
dad was he was devastated.
Absolutely. You could tell.
The mom and the sister, well, they weren't so game with us being there. But if you think about it, that's where we learned a lot of this. I mean, it was rough. I mean, we were head first trying to figure this out. The Bible says these signs will follow those that believe in me. And we went head first, but that's really when we learned. And it seems like since then we've kind of died down and
I don't know that I would say we've died down.
not
I
been
think,
learning to the pace we did.
No, I agree. I think we've steadied a pace. I think we initially thought of this as a sprint. Like, everybody says Christianity is an endurance race. It's not a sprint. We took
That's
off.
a good point.
We took off like at a dead run.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't,
I made a lot of enemies.
It was
Yeah,
too much
yeah.
with too little that we were working with.
We went with no knowledge.
Yep.
Yeah, we went like you said, headstrong. We just dove in and
did.
just figured, let's see what happens. And it was kind of the term you've used multiple times in the past. We threw a lot of shit against the wall and wanted to see what would stick, and
Yeah.
a lot of it didn't stick.
Well, and me and you,
Majority of it.
And there was a lot of it that blew back on us too.
I don't know how many of us talked about, but I know having a conversation with you, maybe a few more, when we were right in the middle of this, that we might be making a mistake. But the
Yeah.
thing is, all of us were so desperate to learn something new. We've had generations of, one way or the other, generations of very similar Christianity that just wasn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
And to me, the encounter was exactly what it's titled. It was an encounter with Christ.
Yeah.
It gave me a hunger to know the word, to see what it talks about, to see the parts that says these signs will follow those that believe in me. They will raise the dead, and the signs will follow them. Which I guess you could say back then, it wasn't so much that they were following us. We were doing everything they can to even have some show up.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we talked about that. This might be a mistake, and I think some of it we did a little bit headstrong. But I didn't. I really. It's not that so much I didn't care. It's I didn't mind.
Yeah.
And
But I think going back, like, who has regrets?
I don't.
Anybody?
I
Nope.
don't.
There was
No.
mistakes made, but
None
I don't
whatsoever.
regret it.
Yeah.
But what you were saying, Pete, is we didn't have much knowledge. trying to go in and pray for dead people and raise them. How much knowledge can you get if you don't start?
That's
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
That's a
that-
very
I-
good point.
I think you got to go in,
Yeah.
if you have the understanding of what the Bible says, in my
And the
name
belief.
you will raise the dead, you will heal the sick.
Yeah.
If you believe
out
that,
demons.
cast out
At least try
demons.
something.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think we
I-
necessarily did it wrong. Even though we went in without, like you said, without any real knowledge of it, there's not really any book on how to do it. All
there
it says
is.
is you will.
The-
Well,
The
there
Bible, but
is,
the-
yeah,
the Bible,
But,
so
but I
it's-
mean, like,
but-
there's not an instruction booklet that says, "Hey, you
Well,
gotta do it
that's
this
step by
way."
step.
Well,
You got to look
that's
at
the
it
thing.
this way too, though. I mean, Elijah went and he did it, and he didn't have a book to look at. He
Yeah,
didn't.
very true.
He didn't have anything. I mean,
I don't-
they had basically the law, and that's
Yeah.
what they went by. So,
Yeah.
I
He
don't-
basically
think
followed
that-
his heart, is what he was
Mm.
doing.
I don't think that
Absolutely.
there will ever be a book that
Nope.
you can read and know how to do it, because each encounter that you will have like that will be unique.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can write a book, because the Bible simply says,
Well, I think
in
you
His
could.
name we
but-
will do that, right?
Yeah, I
So
think you
there's
could, but
not
it wouldn't
really-
be an instruction. It would be
your
you
own
could-
revelation.
Yeah, well, a testimony to things you may or may not, or like may have seen in your life. To say not an instruction, no, but something that could be used later to see for example. I think each one's gonna be different.
Basically a testimony, like
Yeah, yeah.
we're doing here, our
Yeah, pretty
testimony
much.
book, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I think you can write testimonies,
Yes.
and people can go read testimonies.
yeah,
And
To do
that
it
what we
again.
have seen,
Exactly.
what testimonies do, they inspire people.
Oh yeah. It
Well,
feels so much good.
Revelation. So before we go into that would actually be a very good transition point. But Mark 16, 17, 18 is the one that talks about that, and it says what signs will follow those that believe in me. But what you just talked about, the testimony. Me and you've been there once at Isaac. Me and you have been there at Heaven in Business. We went the first time, and then me and Abe went last time, and I forget the guy's name, but Brandon Hare.
Brandon Hare, yeah.
He had a whole segment, a monologue, I should call it, on prayer, and it wasn't what you're supposed to do. It was his revelation of prayer.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there. I've prayed, but mainly because the Bible commanded it, or it's
It's the right thing to do.
yeah, and it's a tool available to you. But I've seen myself healed miraculously. My back got healed years ago, and Jerry Bellis, from my spiritual father. When I met him, I prayed for his back, and his didn't go away, but this pain got a lot better. So I've seen things happen, but not to the degree after I came out of that. Like, I had a revelation. I told my wife, I said, I had a revelation on prayer. And she says, what is it? I couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what it is. But I just know, and we've seen it works. My wife had a friendship that was falling apart, or fell apart, that has since been repaired. We have somebody that subcontracts for us that we worked with for 2 years, and it was difficult. And since then, within a week, it changed so much. We hadn't seen that kind of progress in 2 years, and this happened within a week. So I think, like what Isaac was talking about, the purpose of testimony, and I think that's a lot what we will do here as well, or kind of transition into that, and the testimonies of what we learn during the week, and have it be a testimony to the people that we speak to, or to hear this, and even the people around the table, to inspire change in their life and have miraculous things happen. Because, like I said, just these two things, and these are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. They are, I mean, it's nothing short of miraculous. I mean, I've never seen prayer. And it's not that I sat somewhere in a closet and prayed for 5 hours every day, or did anything special. I set an alarm on my phone. My birthday is December 8th, so I set an alarm on my phone at 12:08 every day. It goes off, And even I'll do it while I'm in a conversation. Alarm will go off, and I'll just say a quick prayer. This and this person, Father, help me or show me how I can help him. Another thing that was very important, and that's where I came out of anyway. But another thing that was very, very big to me, what Brandon talked about, the disciples, after being with Jesus for several years, they had seen healings, they had seen almost everything. They had seen the kid that they couldn't drive the demons out of, and Jesus said some will only come out with fasting and prayer. When it came down with the one, there might be others, but the one passage that we have of the disciples asking Jesus for something very specific, they said, "Teach us how to pray." Like that to me got big. Like out of all the things you could ask him, how do we heal better? How do we do whatever? That's not what they said. And another thing, I don't know exactly how you would define it, but what Brandon was saying, like the Jewish culture back then was one of prayer. They prayed very regularly. It's not like they didn't know how to pray. That was one of the greatest commandments, I guess, from the old Bible, the Old Testament still. So it's not like they didn't